Okay, so EMG Works Acquisition is the software we use to collect EMG. So once it opens up, you can see here you have the workflow data acquisition. You're just going to click on it. I'm going to make this window bigger. So here, it's not as organized as Nexus is, unfortunately, but you can create your own project. So make a folder. And then within this, you can see you can create a new subject, kind of like you would in Nexus. So you can check the quality of the electrodes as well. So I'm trying to go back. But it won't, here we go. Okay, so if you want to go back, you have to click on the default for whatever reason. Okay, so I'm going to go to just, again, a folder that's already been created to make it easier. I'm going to make a new trial. Okay, so you see here. Okay, so I'm going to double click it. Okay, so now I can add in my experimental workflow the processes that I want. So I definitely want the signal previewed. I'm going to select one of the electrodes that I'm going to be using. This is where you can check the quality of the signal when you place the electrode on, so that you make sure that you have a good signal before you wrap it all down and you start collecting any data. I'm going to select the plot store, so this is where it's going to collect the data. So here you can change how long you want it to be running for. So I definitely recommend you putting it at least 10 to 15 seconds longer than what you think the trial is going to be. So say you think the trial is going to be 20 seconds. I'd recommend you leaving it at 30 or 45 seconds. If you know you're going to be collecting, say, 3 minutes worth of data, definitely put it more than 3 minutes worth of data. And I'll show you why in a second. So basically, I want to definitely make sure the ones that I'm going to be attaching are selected. So I'll just select one, but you definitely can choose all the ones that you want. So what other thing you can do is when you click on sensors, okay, and you see these settings, but as well as now we have a nice human model. We can click on existing sensors. I'm going to take this electrode 1. I'm going to put it on my right brachioradialis, and you can see now electrode 1 has been labeled right brachioradialis. So it kind of gives you a good kind of remembrance of where you place that electrode. Hopefully you're writing it down on your data collection sheet, but in case you didn't, it'll label it here for you. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my experimental workflow because I only really care about that one electrode right now, because again, for training purposes. So you can see that electrode 1 has also been labeled. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the electrode from the box. Okay, so to turn the electrode on, you see there's this little black button. So you just need to press it and hold it down for a second. And you see now this green light, it's flashing. That means that the electrode's on. Here you would theoretically, well actually I'll do it. I'm going to grab a backer, do this correctly. I'm going to put the phone down because I can't operate all of this with one hand. Okay, so kind of like the tape for the reflective markers, this is double-sided, so just make sure that the green tab is up and that you basically get the poles through the hole. Okay, so then what you would do is take one of these alcohol wipes and just abrade the site, clean the site. So obviously take it out of the pack, clean the site really well. Again, I'm sure you know how to do that. So then to place the electrode, you can see this green tab kind of easily pulls away from the tape when you're using two hands and not one. But even with one hand, I can sort of get it, but I'm going to put the phone down so I can peel it. Okay, so now it's ready to be placed, so I'm going to go ahead and place it on my arm. Okay, so you want to make sure that you align the electrode properly. So the arrow pointing up is going to tell you the upward direction. So make sure it's on there flush against the skin. Okay, so now I'm going to click Start Test. So this window is going to pop up. If I want to change the name of the file, you can. I run all my data through the Vicon files. But if you want to run them separately, you may want to change this, because trying to find this file later may be more difficult when you don't know what the number is. And of course, you can always change the file location here. Okay, but I'm going to just go ahead and click OK. So this window is going to pop up. It's going to show, okay, here are my two operations that I want to do. It's going to start with the signal preview first because it's selected. If I select the plot and store, it'll start with that one first, but I want to show you the signal preview. So down here, you see it says Run Task. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Start. Okay, here's the window that shows up. I'm going to rotate my phone so you can see the whole screen. Okay, so this window is going to pop up. So this green light next to the sensor is telling you that this is the sensor that's on. All the ones that are orange are not on, okay? Or they're out of range, meaning someone walked away, but that shouldn't be the case. So all of these are still in the box. That's why the light is orange. So I know that this is the only one I'm using, so I'm going to go ahead and click Continue anyway. Okay, so up here you can see that my brachioradialis is labeled. Here's the EMG signal. Here's the accelerometry. You can move this window out of the way. You can change the scale of this. I'm going to go ahead and auto scale. Okay, so if I contract, you can kind of see there. You can see my muscle activating. Okay, so I know that I have placed this electrode in a good spot. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this before the 30 seconds runs out, which you can do. Okay, so sometimes this will freeze and you have to go back and start it again. So you can click Start and do it again. You can also do this if you have a lot of electrodes or it takes you a while to get that person to contract. So for us, we do kids. Sometimes they take a little while to follow directions, and so you may need to do it more than once if you don't have a long duration for the capture. Okay, so I'm happy with the signal, especially because this is training purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next Task. So you see my window has changed. That's because this is the data collection now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flip my phone over again. Okay, so now I'm going to basically drag this window off to the side, kind of make it small. And I apologize because for some reason it won't let me collect data. Having some technical issues here, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this quality check because we've already done it. Okay, so for some reason it had a little glitch. You see that my green start indicator wasn't on, so I don't want that. Okay, so I'm going to pull up Nexus and the EMG works next to each other. So you definitely want to start the EMG first because you want the data to collect in Nexus, and it'll be synchronized. If you start this first, then obviously it won't be synchronized because it's not collecting that data. So I'm going to go ahead and hit start. And you can see it kind of has a little lag. That's why you probably need to make it a little bit longer than what it needs to be. So then I'm going to go ahead and hit start. I'm going to go ahead and give you some little contractions, and you can see it's collecting that data. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop over here in Nexus, and then stop over here in EMG Works. Okay. So now if I were to go to my file, so I'm going to double click it. I think the calibration trial is the last trial we were working on. I'm not really interested in that. I'm going to maximize this window. Okay, so here you can see my trial is open. I'm going to add or change the perspective to a graph view. So now I'm going to go over here to my system, and some of these things I've already shown you how to do in another video, so I'm kind of skipping over it. I apologize, but you can check that video. So you can see here, when I click my EMG, I'm going to deselect all of my electrodes. I just want channel 1 so I can show you. Right, so this seems like the data that we just collected, right? I was just giving you a couple of contractions every couple of seconds. So here's the data. So when you export it, and again I have another video, it'll show you how to export the data. You have the data here in Vicon, so pretty easy to use. Just kind of make sure you follow the procedure so that you don't have any discrepancies. And again, you want to make sure that you're checking this every once in a while, just to make sure that it's collecting properly. You also want to make sure that if you go over here to the devices, scroll down, make sure all the electrodes are present. You can add them. If for whatever reason it gets deleted, again, you shouldn't be deleting anything, but you can add this back. Hopefully you never have to do that. It should be already set, but you can add them back if for whatever reason there's an issue. Okay, so that's EMG. And so ideally you would have wrapped down the electrode with the pre-wrap and the gaffer tape. I didn't, because it was just little simple contractions I was giving you, but you definitely want to pre-wrap and tape them down once you check the signal quality, because if you're having someone, say, doing walking, running, jumping, once they start getting sweaty, the tape is going to lose its adhesiveness, but you're also going to get a lot of artifact because the electrode is going to be moving around a lot. So you definitely want to tape down the electrode. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this off my skin. Okay, so once you peel off the tape, it can be a little difficult to peel off the tape, just because, again, it's supposed to be adhesive. Wipe down the electrode with another alcohol wipe. One, so that there's not a lot of adhesive residue on the electrode, but also because the poles were touching someone's skin. So you're disinfecting the poles as well, because they're likely going to be sweating and get their germs on it. So definitely clean the electrode after you've done using it. And then when you're done, just put it back into the original spot and it will charge up the electrode automatically.